Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing with our summer scouting series as we land on the Purdue Boilermakers. A lot of buzz in the offseason. I think they absolutely nailed the hire with Ryan Walters, and it kind of reminds me of the Oklahoma hire with Brent Venables. Like, you were going from an offensive-minded head coach, kind of an offensive mastermind, if you will, to more of a defensive-minded head coach, Ryan Walters. I remember talking about him when he was at Illinois, saying they better enjoy it while it lasts because he's going to be a head coach someday. And it happened a little quicker than I think many of us expected, but I think Purdue absolutely nailed the hire. Now, before we get into it again, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support you guys have shown, whether we're talking summer scouting, whether we're talking high school recruiting, has been incredible. And if you're interested in some of our thoughts on some of the other Big Ten programs, go check out some of those summer scouting episodes as well. Without further ado, Dill, I'm going to kick it off to you. How are we feeling about this Purdue team heading into 2023?
I mean, it's going to look a lot different, that's for sure. Ryan Walters, obviously, when he came in, a lot of guys left, a lot of guys came in, so it is going to be a big overhaul. I mean, you got to be excited about him as a coach, just what he did at Illinois. He proved he can do what you need to do at Purdue, which is be a master developer of talent. Those Illinois defenses weren't filled with the five-star recruits that are at Ohio State or Alabama or Georgia, but he made that defense into one of the more tougher defenses in the country. And that was a lot of guys developing from their freshman year into their senior year and so forth. And that's kind of the mold that Purdue kind of has to follow too, because they'll never be that big time.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit. He knows the area. He knows how to recruit those kind of players that are going to be able to win games at Purdue. I'm interested to start on the offensive side of the ball here and what this offense looks like. We knew the identity of this offense for years under Jeff Brown. You bring in Graham Harrell from West Virginia, who's a much more balanced offense. I mean, he has roots in the air raid. That being said, you take a look at that West Virginia offense last year. It was very balanced. I mean, they ran the ball for 171 yards per game at West Virginia with him calling the plays. I wonder if you see Graham Harrell in this offense for Purdue kind of go back to maybe a little bit more on the run game, establishing that run game. Hudson Card coming in at quarterback. I think they have the players to kind of make that happen.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing when you're a coach who's kind of coming into a new system, especially with the way their transfer portal works. Yep. You can go out and get a guy like Hudson Card where, again, like Purdue is turning over the quarterback room. Brady Allen out. Alex O'Connell, he's out too.
Aiden O'Connell. Put some respect on my guy's name.
I'm getting him confused with the Duke basketball player. But obviously, so they're turning over this quarterback room, but you kind of get a guy who's ready to step in and be the leader and usher in probably the Marcos Davila era.
Yeah, I agree. You bring in Marcos Davila in the 2024 class, but you have Hudson Card, and you looked at the transfer portal. There weren't that many good quarterbacks to land who have starting experience, who played at a high level. Hudson Card was one of them, and I think he is the perfect quarterback for Ryan Walters to lean on for the first couple seasons of his tenure at Purdue. The run game, though. Like Devin Mockabee, as much as you want to talk about Aiden O'Connell and that Jeff Brown air raid offense, Devin Mockabee is a phenomenal running back for them to lean on in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, and he came on and he was so good in that Michigan game as we were watching, and I'm like, man, this guy's really giving us problems. When he hit that fake flea flicker, I was like, this guy's kind of a different. I mean, it's not a traditional running style, but he's really hard to bring down. He finds holes, he finds ways to manufacture yards, and yeah, again, for a Purdue team that's losing a lot of production in terms of Charlie Jones and O'Connell, who were so much that offense, I think having a guy like Mockabee you can lean on and just he's going to manufacture the plays you kind of need to make to stay on schedule, I think is going to be like super helpful.
Like a former walk-on, but he runs the ball hard. He makes people miss, and having Hudson Card come in from the portal and then having one of the better running backs in the Big Ten in Devin Mockabee, I think it's going to make this transition for this offense a little bit easier. Now, if there is a question mark I have for this Purdue offense, it is who's going to be catching passes. Like, you look back at that offense last year, extremely reliant on a guy like Charlie Jones, who was phenomenal, extremely reliant on a guy like Payne Durham at that tight end position. If there is a concern, it's who's going to be catching Hudson Card's passes here.
I mean, I'm looking for TJ Sheffield to step up. I thought he was a guy who started, come on late, runs really good routes, can make plays with the ball in his hands. He's kind of the guy for me who I'm kind of excited about to see what he can do, because again, you're right. It was all Charlie Jones for the most part. But TJ Sheffield, again, I think if you got to see a little more of him and he got the ball a little more, I think he's a guy who can play.
Yeah, there definitely was an element of Aiden O'Connell, who I believe like played youth ball with Charlie Jones, like that connection and chemistry. Like when Aiden O'Connell had the ball in his hands, his first read was Charlie Jones almost every time, and I don't necessarily blame him. I wonder if they go after another wide receiver in the portal because there still are some good wide receivers left, and I wonder if that's just Ryan Walters has not been shy about getting new guys in the portal. The wide receiver position has not been a spot where he's gone. So I wonder if that kind of speaks to the confidence he has of some of these guys in this room that might be able to contribute, and you don't need to go onto the portal and get another wide receiver.
Yeah, and obviously they didn't put up numbers, but Mershawn Rice is a good player too. I thought he had his moments. I think getting Garrett Miller back from the injury,
yeah, you love him,
huge, because I thought in 21, like again, it was Payne Durham's room for a while in that Purdue offense, but like he's that big athletic player, kind of similar to what Payne Durham was. I think again, getting him back, people are kind of forgetting about him because he didn't play in 22, but 21, he had a good. I mean, numbers weren't exactly incredible or jump off the page, but again, a guy who I think has that ability to step in and play that number one tight end role and do a really good job for Purdue.
Yeah, this offense, it's not going to be as explosive as you saw under Jeff Brom, but I do think it's going to be a little bit more balanced and potentially take some pressure off of the defense. The returning production, when you go back and look at some of the playmakers and the contributors from this 2022 season, it's not great. That being said, the one thing we did mention is Ryan Walters is not only a schematic genius when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, he's also phenomenal at developing talent. And there are some guys you feel good about, but what you feel the best about is Ryan Walters just taking over this defense and how it's going to look in 2023.
Yeah, and that's for sure. They're losing a lot. I mean, they're losing two really good defensive tackles. I think Cole Brevard's good, and I think there's some other guys. I think Corday Sidnor might be really good if you can give him a chance to kind of blossom. But at the end of the day, you do trust Ryan Walters to get the most out of these players. And you don't really know what you're going to get because you're just not – you haven't seen enough of these guys, but – you are excited about. I mean, Ryan Walters, again, he did what he did at Illinois. It was not necessarily a talent-driven system. It was like he developed guys. He got them playing really well. And if he can do that for Purdue, that's, again, this year not probably going to be a Big Ten title chasing year, but if they can just be solid and kind of bring this program along into the Ryan Walters era without being really, really bad, I think that's kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah, and it's hard to see a Ryan Walters coach team being really, really bad because they're going to have a good defense. They have a guy in Hudson Card who is, when you look at the quarterbacks in the Big Ten West, Hudson Card's probably up at the top. So you're going to have a chance to win a lot of games. I believe Vegas has set the win total at 5.5, and probably a solid number. I think that's probably the goal for this Purdue team in year one under Ryan Walters. I mean, you got gutted. You lost your all conference quarterback. You lost your all-conference wide receiver in Charlie Jones. I think 6 wins would be a good start to this Ryan Walters era, and then you start seeing him get his guys in and pick it up. They'll take a look at the schedule. How do we think it's playing out here?
I mean, I think that number is probably pretty close to what you're kind of expecting, just because, again, the turnover was huge. And again, it's not to say you're not a believer in Ryan Walters, but like you saw it at Oklahoma, when you turn over the whole system and the culture is kind of changing from offense to defense and all that, it again, you probably are going to face some growing pains. But if they can get 6 wins, I think that'd be a really good start to the Ryan Walters era and give him some momentum for recruiting and all that.
I think it's such a massive 3-game stretch to start the season. Like Fresno State is going to be solid, but I think that's a winnable game. You go on the road to Virginia Tech, and it's never easy to play in Blacksburg, but that Virginia Tech team stinks. Like it is very bad. And then Syracuse at home, very, very winnable games. If you can start 3-0, Wisconsin, Illinois, you look at the Big Ten West. I'm not going to say Purdue doesn't have a chance to win those games. They're going to be hard, but you also have Northwestern and Indiana to finish off the season. You go through a gauntlet here with Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Ohio State, Nebraska, Michigan, Minnesota. Those are tough games, but if you can win 2 or 3 of them, you're looking at a 6-6, 7-5 season, making a bowl game, and I think that'd be a pretty damn good start for this Ryan Walters era at Purdue.
Yeah, and that's really not out of the realm of possibility.
No.
Again, they should start hot. I think that's a pretty weak start to the schedule, and then they finish with a pretty weak couple of teams. So yeah, if they can grab 1 or 2 wins in that middle portion, I mean, you're looking at 6 wins. So
Yeah.
it's not,
So
it's really
the
not
3-0 start, I think, is big, and I think those games are extremely winnable. And even just from like a morale, confidence standpoint, like Ryan Walters taking over Purdue, starting 3-0, you get Wisconsin at home. Like fire me up for that. I think that'd be a phenomenal start. And again, at home, Wisconsin, they're going through a ton of new changes with new coach, new quarterback.
and you
Anything
can
that,
steal some games because frankly, no one plays offense in that side. So it's
yeah,
like when teams can't score, like it's hard to steal a game against Ohio State if you're overmatched because they're just going to
yeah,
score 40 points. And again, if your offense can't keep up with it, it is what it is. But when you're playing Iowa and you might see like a 7-10 game, you
yep.
can steal a game. You say the same thing about
Yeah.
Illinois, say the same thing about Nebraska.
We
Probably.
said it. The Big Ten. It is the Wild West in the Big Ten West. Like there are a lot of different possibilities, and I don't think it's crazy to see Purdue maybe shaking out at the top of that division. Again, appreciate you guys checking us out. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate all the support you guys have shown, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.